Hello, everyone. This is Victor Lund. I'm a founding partner of the Wave Group. Welcome to today's webinar. We've got two great panelists here who are doing extraordinary things with real estate broker technology. I'm really excited to have both of them. They're people that we've worked with in the past on a lot of different projects. I think very highly of them, and they're certainly doing a lot to be innovative, not only on the vendor side of serving a large brokerage firm, but Kent Hanley, who's joining us from Coldwell Banker, is one of the senior leaders of the real estate industry and managing brokers. Before we get started here today, I do want to just educate you on how to use the GoToWebinar control panel. You'll see the questions dialog box in the control panel. And as we go through today's session, if you have a question for one of the panelists, please put the question in there and staff will help you out and we'll get your question answered toward the end. We have about 45 minutes of discussion and then we'll have about 15 minutes of Q&A. We will be recording today's webinar, so if you want to share this with somebody else in your company, you're more than welcome to do that. So after today's webinar, we'll send you a copy of that recording, and we'll also send you a recent case study that Delta Media did on Coldwell Banker, Howard Perry, and Walston. So with that, I do want to introduce the topic a little bit. What we hope to help you understand is what a large brokerage firm does in considering the switching out of their technology platform. And when I say technology platform, I mean a lot more than a website. It's their website, it's their intranet, it's integration with all the tools and services that are used in the brokerage. It's hundreds of agents' websites, all pulled together into one seamless environment. So with that, I just want to introduce my friend, Kent Hanley. Kent is the CEO of Howard Perry and Walston. They're a Coldwell Banker franchise. I think they're, I don't know, you have the top 5, Kent?
Yes, top 5 in the Coldwell Banker network.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, very good. And you came to the company, what, a few years ago. You haven't always been there, right?
Right. I joined Howard Perry and Walston in the August 16. August 16, thanks.
Well, it's been a good ride. And can you tell us just a little bit about the company, the size of the company, the different business lines offered, number of agents, offices, things like that, to help people orient to what we consider to be enterprise?
Sure. We're in the greater Raleigh Triangle, real estate market research triangle area. We have 15 offices. Market size is about $22 billion in sales around the area. Not only are we in the real estate business, but we're in the mortgage business, title business. We've got a builder services division. We've got a property management company, relocation division as well. So, traditional full service company.
Oh, that's excellent. And I know that, there are not very many technology firms like Delta Media that really, give you the option of being able to service different business units above and beyond just the real estate business. So that's certainly something that plays into the hand of executives like you when you make those considerations. How did you guys just switched over to Delta recently? What triggered that decision for your executive team?
Well, when I was making the move down here and looking for housing, moving out of the Northeast, the first thing was I wanted to use our company's website to find a house for my family, and I found it very cumbersome. And I struggled with using our site, even though I kept trying and trying and trying. But I found myself going to use other companies' websites, and so I knew initially that okay, we needed to make a change, because if it was cumbersome as a consumer, for me, who's not the tech guy, you knew it'd be a problem. And so once I got here, and sort of settled in and looked at the website and asked, okay, what are we doing with the website? Also trying to, understand, okay, all of our technology and the vendors that we had in play, just going through and trying to identify every vendor we had and trying to figure out what they do and how they do it and how the integration worked, we realized that, okay, this probably isn't going to work. And we set up meetings with our vendors and sat down face to face and sort of mapped out what we wanted to accomplish and all, and realized this is a pretty major undertaking, and realized that the vendor we had in place, good people and a good organization, but they just couldn't take our business to the level that we wanted to, and dealing with the integration. And so we had to go on the search to find somebody that would meet the needs and what we wanted to try and really accomplish.
If you were to express to other brokerages, like what are some of the symptoms that would indicate that their web strategy isn't working effectively, what kinds of things would you highlight as KPIs for that?
Well, we're obviously the things we looked at Google Analytics and started with that, but just started with the basics of consumer usage and see if people could navigate through that and all, and see if there was a good connectivity with the brokerage firm. Obviously, we're trying to generate leads from it. We operate a call center, and so trying to generate leads for the agents and looking at the agents' websites and how they integrate. We also looked at the CRM and looked at the adoption rate and the usage of the CRM. Only to find out that we didn't really have anybody using the CRM just because it was too complicated. And then we didn't have anywhere when they did ended up reaching out to us and reaching out to our agents, and not using the CRM. They had no way to track these leads and manage them, and we didn't have an intranet site for the agents to utilize, and so we struggled with having a single, if we had a lot of tools and a lot of vendors, but the agents had to go to their individual websites to it. So part of it is we have a single sign-on. We needed to have a destination for all the agents to go to get their tools. And so I think if your consumers aren't using your website, and you can look at the Google Analytics, and we looked at things such as bounce rates on our website and the length of time people were on our website, and look at how many pages they were looking at, and obviously sessions and unique visitors, they stood out. That Houston, we got a problem here, and we also looked at how many agents actually had their own individual website and what those things look like, and part of which is our brand wasn't protected. Agents were doing whatever they wanted to do, so we didn't really have control over our brand and create some consistency in marketing from that perspective. And so you knew the agents were looking for help, and talking to them, they wanted a website solution, and not all of them were as tech savvy, but some of them really wanted to be able to play with it. So a lot of us, just to help protect our own brand, to make sure that when agents are doing their marketing and they're doing websites, that our name's prevalent as theirs is on their sites.
Yeah, and you guys certainly have. I mean, you have a higher onus too, because you're compelled by your agreement with Coldwell Banker to maintain compliance with their brand requirements. But at the same time, it's hard if you really don't have technology as a center of excellence at your brokerage. It's pretty hard to compel the agents to follow your lead on the solutions that you're providing. So, can you talk a little bit about what the impact has been on this conversion and how it's impacted recruiting and retention? I mean, we hear every day, that's all I seem to read on RE Technology or in the news or Riz Media, is another brokerage calling themselves a technology company. And, you start to look at it and you're like, well, I don't see a lot of there, but they're certainly making the claim that they are. Can you just talk about, how this is impacting the recruiting and retention strategy for the brokerage?
Sure. And first of all, we didn't want to be a technology company. I mean, we just wanted to do real estate, mortgage, and title and focus on that, and that be our expertise. But we knew that we had a void, and we needed to provide that for our agents, because they're all hearing about the technology out there. They're all hearing about, the buzz about lead generation and all. And trying to create a consistent platform to where we could also communicate with our agents, and so by designing this whole system is that by having a good presence in the marketplace and watching not only the consumers come to our website. The idea was, hopefully we'll attract some of our competitors' buyers on our site and grab them with our call center and be able to pass the leads out to our own agents. So the thought is, if we can have a a really simple, easy website, appealing website to the consumer, we'll get the eyes and the attentions of our competitions, competitors and their agents. And so it sort of opened that door. And then once you get a chance to, to get them in front of you where you can pull back the covers and show our lead generation from it, the agent's websites launching, every agent has their own personal website, which they can modify and set up. It gave us a nice value proposition as to what we offer our agents, and that we've got a CRM, intranet, single sign-on, lead generation, email marketing campaign, direct mail marketing campaign, all tied together at no cost to the agent. It's a compelling reason not only to stay, but also to attract agents. And we've had tremendous success in the last year of hiring experienced agents. And so I think it's how consumers see you today. That's your public facing. We're not in the newspapers anymore, and so you've got to have that's your front door, and so you've got to have a great presence there.
Yeah, all the research that we do on the satisfaction that agents have with their broker systems, we do quite a bit of benchmarking for your peers at the Realty Alliance, and one of the things we find agents saying again and again and again is that I really need my broker to give me a complete solution and make it easy for me. And I know you guys do a lot with training and your partner Delta trains your trainers. And can you just talk about how you keep that training cycle going? And because you're always onboarding new agents and trying to improve the performance of mezzanine agents, and then obviously get your top producers really cranking with this stuff. Can you just kind of outline some like how you have it set up and some best practices there that other brokers might benefit from?
Sure. I think it started when we started to design the website and all. We knew that we needed to be able to help the agents through the process, and we tried to design a very simple platform for them in order to do it. So we started by hiring a digital asset manager early on in the process to help navigate and work together with Delta. And then with that, we took our training director, and we brought in the management team first and foremost, and trained all the managers. And this was a month and a half before we launched the website. So first we trained all the management team, and then brought in, we created a tech specialist in each office, a couple tech specialists, which are agents who we all got them. They're all sitting in our office. They love technology more than they like selling real estate. So they're in there and they enjoy that. They enjoy helping other agents. And so we got them engaged, and in a month prior to launch, we brought them involved and trained them on how to do it. So when we launched, we had the opportunity to bring everybody in and train them all different aspects. And we broke down the office where one conference room we're going to be training on agent websites, another conference room we're going to be training on the intranet site, the other conference room we're going to be training on this. And so we actually had it laid out to where everybody could go to different destinations and be trained on it. And so from a launch, we were able to get through and train everybody within a couple weeks of getting them up and running and getting them comfortable with it. And on an ongoing basis, we have not only the tech specialists in the offices, but we'll hire about 250 people a year on minimum. And we have a couple different types of training programs. We have a corporate training program that we put everybody through, that we go through the tools with them, and then we kick them back to the offices, where the offices have productivity coaches, and we have the mentors, and we have the tech specialists in the branches, which hold their hand through that process. And I guess, you were asking, what KPIs do you use in order to determine if agents are using things? Well, when we launched the website, we also created what we call a little spreadsheet that we monitor, and it's called Engaged, and we track how many agents have a photo on our website, how many did the biography, how many some that can't write biographies. We created some nice little question marks, questions that they can fill in the blanks on. How many people have their photos on Coldwell Banker's website? Do they have their bio there? How many are using our CRM? How many are using, some of the subscription services, like you're mailing out the newsletter to them, or the Market Watch, or new listings and all. And so we monitor that, and and we can see how many people are utilizing the CRM, and we're at a 47% adoption rate already on the CRM, and have been, but we're constantly monitoring to seeing who's doing what and coaching the agents, and showing them, okay, hey, how come you haven't got this? And so we try and use the training department, our managers and our assistant managers, all of getting them all adopted. But I'm pleased at a 47% adoption rate, sort of early on, and still continuing to hire people as usage of our CRM.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent job, to be honest with you. And one of the things that we see brokerages really succeed on is when you begin to tell stories and create a narrative within the company where you use your intranet as a place where people can go to hear about success stories of other agents or other teams within the organization that have been using a product, and they sent out an email and they got a lead and they closed 3 deals, and those types of stories, which really goes a lot toward explaining why it's so important to use these technology solutions in the brokerage. And I know that, like, you guys operate with a lot of complexity, because you not only have all the solutions that are provided by Howard Perry and Walston to your agents, but you're also tying in Coldwell Banker's solutions as well. So can you tell me a little bit about how you were able to tie those in and get people back and forth between those applications and sort of understand where to go for what?
Well, being a franchise, it's probably no different than what we expect of our agents, meaning the fact that Coldwell Banker provides us with a lot of tools, and they want us to be engaged with their tools and utilize certain ones, and sort of like agents do with our stuff, you sort of pick and choose what you think is going to be help you, and what things might be duplicate, and so we just sort of pick and choose the things that Coldwell Banker provides and integrate it right into the CRM and to our intranet site in a single sign-on. So when a agent comes on and logs on, they log and see, first of all, what's going on within our company. They see a company calendar as to the events that are happening, and whether it's training within the company or whether it's training within their own branch. It's right on their dashboard. And then they see whatever leads that pop up, and the leads that we pop up it can be not only leads from our site, hpw.com, but we can also integrate anything from coldwellbanker.com, Zillow, Trulia. And so that's the first thing they see is the leads that they have and that to-do list and all. And so we actually use the intranet site as that place that is the one destination to get all the various tools. And then it's sort of like a smartphone. On the second page of it you got a bunch of little icons like apps, and we broke them down into categories, and whether or not the categories is our tools or Coldwell Banker's tools or MLS tools or and they can just click on those apps, and they can actually click and drag their favorites to the top of the page, so they don't have to scroll down and look at maybe the 40 different apps that we have. But we try and make it seamless for them, so that way they're like going, okay, where do I go for this one, or where do I go for that one? And integrating all that made it simpler for them to have access to that information, because if you don't put it right in front of them very simply, they forget where to find them.
Well, we're going to bring Mike Menard, the CEO of Delta Media, on the call in just a minute, and have him kind of show how some of those things integrate with your strategy and make it easy for the agent. But before we do that, I have a couple of quick questions. Is there advice that you would give to other brokers of key things that they should think about when they're selecting a vendor?
Yes. It took us probably 6 months to vet out the vendor, to vet out Delta. We started down the road first of just meeting with our existing vendor to see if they could meet our needs, and they couldn't. And then we put together an RFP, realizing, and we sent that out to various different firms that we'd heard, had good reputations, and firms all over that other fellow brokers and peers and friends had been using, and whittled it down to 4. And, we'd done through conference calls those, and talked to them. And then we whittled it down to 4 and asked 4 back for what I call a second date. And I asked them to fly in so we could meet them face to face. Because to me, everything was about a relationship. I wasn't just choosing a webmaster. I was choosing a marketing partner. And I wanted somebody that could work together with us. I didn't want to be put into a box. That was my frustration with our other vendor, was the fact that here's their platform, that's all you can do, and that's just not me. I wanted to play around in this thing and create it to what would work for us, not just what would work for them. And so of the 4 that we invited back, 3 took us up on the second date and flew in here, and we got to know them and got to understand their culture and what they were about. And I wanted to make sure it was a good fit. And then we whittled it down to 2 and got to, had them back in here, and we sat down with them. And I can tell you, with the folks from Delta, I mean, I had long conversations with them all, just making sure that this was the right fit, because it wasn't something that you're going to switch vendors every year, and it's a major undertaking. And I wanted to make sure it worked for them as well, because it's not just about me, it's about a partnership and a long-term partnership. And I felt that we had that within Delta, and that's why we ended up going with Mike and the Delta group, because they thought like we did, and they thought big picture, and the fact that they wanted to be creative, and they, bringing a lot of things to the table. Like when we launched, back up. As we were getting ready to launch in the construction phase, I lost our digital asset manager. He moved to Tennessee. And so I'm like going, okay, now what the heck are we going to do here, right? And I'm talking to them, and they said, don't worry, Kent, most of the companies that we do business with don't have an IT department or a marketing department or digital asset manager group that can help us with it. So we can do it all. We can do it and you don't need it. Well, good news, in the meantime, we hired somebody to help, but they picked up the slump for about a 30-day window there when we didn't have anybody. And so I think the key thing is just feeling, you find somebody that you're comfortable with, that's got the experience, that's looking to do and have the same vision that you do of working together, and creating a lot of flexibility. I mean, we're not, some of the stuff on some of the other people that have Delta's websites is nice, but that's just not us. So we wanted to do something different, and that didn't have a problem with them. And I got to tell you, since we've launched, we've probably continued to change and innovate and create other things constantly. We have a weekly phone call with them. Mike and I are on the phone. Heck, we were on the phone yesterday talking about some new ideas and things. I was at the Realty Alliance and saw, boy, this is pretty cool. And I'm emailing Mike. I said, what do you think? He said, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's try and do that. And so I like that whole creativity and having, I could never afford the resources of having a firm like that behind me. So I think you got to find somebody that works within your style and what you want to do. And because it is a long-term play here, it's not something that you want to constantly, change overnight.
That's very sound advice. And I guess I want to give you an opportunity here on what I call the brag page, just to kind of talk about the impact that this switch has made on your company. Can you kind of walk us through this, and then we'll invite Mike Menard to come on, and he can show a little bit about how he actually executed on a lot of the topics that we've been talking about here today.
Yeah, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, our traffic just blew through the roof. We watched, you see the total traffic up 662% year over year on the traffic. You can see the graphs on the bottom where it was just sort of stagnant. Some of the things that don't show up on this is the number of pages that Google indexed on our site. It wasn't until we started launching we saw how many pages Google had actually indexed on our old site. And then when Delta designed this site, Google was picking up hundreds of thousands of pages on our site, and that helped blow our traffic up. Ironically, we didn't even start marketing our site until 4 months into it, because I wanted to make sure that we had worked all the bugs out and everything else. And there's nothing like sort of marketing your site, and then all of a sudden people coming to it and then trying to get them back if they had a bad experience. So when we look at the organic traffic or the number of leads, it's been a really appealing site to the consumer, and the pages that they're viewing and the amount of time they're spending on site has worked really, really well, and our agents are thrilled with it. They like their own personal sites and have their own URLs, and they got marketing tied to that, so it can drive it all back to their URLs. Even it has we have a team function that was actually got created after we launched, because there was criteria that we wanted to make sure that Delta, they had to integrate with Gmail, because we are a Gmail platform. that we had to have deal with teams because we got the largest Coldwell banker team in the country who did 1,100 units last year and has got 55 people on their team. And so we needed a team platform to deal with the leads. And so when you see the traffic and you see the amount of listings and business we have, we needed to make sure that we had all our bases covered for our agents and for the company. But the numbers are, I mean, the agents are overwhelmed at the response and of how well the numbers have been going. And again, we didn't start marketing it till about 4 months into it.
Yeah, you see these results and you don't know whether to be aggravated that you didn't switch sooner or just thankful that you got it in the bag now. But congratulations on that. It's really impressive stuff. I know just across the Realty Alliance members, you certainly pinned the top performance among your peers and the largest firms in America for this kind of growth. So congratulations on that. And let's welcome Mike Menard to our call. Mike, are you on?
I am.
Excellent. So welcome, and certainly great accolades from Kent Hanley about the great job that you guys have done there for Howard Perry and Walston. So why don't you just kind of familiarize, there's a lot of people that Delta Media has been around, what, 20 years now?
Wow. So the company's actually been around, next year will be our 25th year in business. So we've been around for 25 years and have been quietly building within the industry, within the space for that entire time, focused primarily on a real estate firm platform is the primary focus.
And where are you guys based?
So we're based out of the .com mecca of Northeast Ohio. When a lot of people find out where we're at, they ask us why, and it's pretty simple. This is where we're from, but the company itself actually does have its roots originally in Beaverton, Oregon, which is a suburb of Portland, and then ultimately Sunnyvale, California, so the heart of .com mecca. And 18 years ago, we acquired the company and moved it to Northeast Ohio, which was home for us.
Hey, I live in California. I would really like to pay the rates of engineers in Ohio over the rates of engineering here in California. So I don't think you're poorly situated. Good job. So just tell us a little bit about how you guys kind of philosophically think about your platform and the way you tune it up to the brokerage community.
Yeah, so I think at a really high level, the way we approach things in here is we actually build what we would want to have, what platform we would want to have if we had a real estate firm. I mean, it's that simple that we look at things and say, if this was our company, what would we want the technology to look like? And not just what do we want technology to look like, but I think it's more of our philosophical approach when we develop things. We're big into automation. We have been for a very long time. So we look at things that we can automate. We look at processes that we can make better and more repeatable, or even more accountable. As you look at all the pieces involved in whether it's website traffic, lead generation, lead response, email marketing, all the bits and pieces as they move, and we're just wired that way. I mean, that's where we actually have fun. So when Kent had mentioned that, it's a partnership, we push for that. We really feel that, which is why we feel that our platform should be continually evolving, and not just as a platform, but for specific needs of local real estate companies. Even though you have a bunch of companies selling real estate all across the country, there are little nuances within each company that make them unique in how they operate. And we feel that that's important.
So when you talk about a team of experts, can you explain a little bit about what you mean by that?
Yeah, so I think it goes back to our approach with how we build things. We aren't building individual platforms. We're building a platform that's customizable. So we look for all senior level people that can think outside the box for solutions, which is why we're big on how we manage things. And to give you just one example, so we manage 92% of the data in the country with one person. So we aggregate 92% of the MLS data with one person managing all of it. But that's because of the systems we even built internally that are automated around doing that aggregation. And it's not like we aggregate MLS feeds every hour or a couple times a day. We're syncing with many MLSs well under 10 minutes in 10-minute increments or 5-minute increments. So I think it's that type of approach, but it also frees up resources so we don't have to maintain the platform, so that when Kent comes to us and has a great idea and we like the idea, we have those resources that we can dedicate towards adding functionality to a platform.
That's excellent. I hope you have life insurance on that guy. I'm just kidding. I know you have backups, but I guess you have 25 years of practice. So, after doing it that long, you pretty much know how to deal with MLSs and REST servers and web APIs and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, we do it in our sleep, and we also appreciate the initiatives in the industry, but that goes back to, I think, the automation side of things. It just has to flow through with our philosophy on how we approach business in general. Even when it comes to AI, I know there's a lot of buzz in our space right now about artificial intelligence, and really it's been around for 15 years. It's just more of a marketing phrase today. But absolutely, it's all about the approach.
Yeah, I try to explain AI to people in the simplest of possible ways, that artificial intelligence is when you have a machine do something that a person would normally do. And if you take just like one of the most basic features of a broker and agent web platform, which is notifying a consumer of a new or updated listing that matches their search criteria, that's a machine going in, looking at MLS data, judging it against the criteria that the consumer or the agent has entered for their client, finding the listings that match, pulling up an email client and emailing it out. I mean, I know that we see that as something that's so obvious and basic today because it's been around since, I don't know, 98, right? But that's artificial intelligence, and it's gotten a lot more sophisticated and complicated over the years. And can you talk about some of the other like AI-driven things that the Delta Media platform is doing that makes life simpler for the agents? And I think one of the things that's cool about you guys having all this functionality within the same system is that it's a lot easier for you to program a couple of applications within your product to talk to each other than it is to go outside and get another vendor to do an API integration to your system to make that happen. Can you just give us a couple of examples of the way that you've done that?
Yeah, there's actually quite a few. So I think it's and really I think we're going to see massive changes, Victor, in the next few months in the real estate space, especially with integrations and with how platforms talk to each other. I don't think that I know that we will be seeing that. But really what you're seeing right now is more behavioral things happening that are, again, driven, like you said, by software that relates to just the life cycle of a customer. So even just their behavior and even just simple notifications going to a sales associate, letting them know about the change in behavior of one of their customers, so they can actually pick up the phone and reach out to them. So you're going to see the marriage of more things like that. So it's not just standalone pieces like new listing notifications, which is pretty basic, but even where that's evolving right now is just not just relying upon what people sign up for, but evolving what you're sending them based upon what they're looking at, so their actual behavior. And you're going to start seeing, though, when it comes to AI, really the refinement and fine-tuning of understanding where to spend your marketing dollars and how to convert those leads. I know that's where we're really pushing right now, is not just doing advertising, but when that advertising is being done, it's uniquely tailored automatically based on that marketplace, based on the buyer, based on all the nuances of who they are, and even where they're taken to and the experience they have. I know it's kind of really vague, but that's what you're going to start to see happen in the real estate space.
Yeah, I mean, that's really where you're getting into like business intelligence and machine learning. So if a consumer's behavior changes, like they stop looking at properties in the high end of their saved search and they focus and spend more time on the low end of their saved searches, then you probably, the machine can tell the agent, hey, I think that they're more likely to buy a $350,000 house than a $550,000 house, even though that's their range. or if they change the pattern in which they come to your site. So they start coming every day instead of once a week, then you can lead score them and push them up to that agent and make sure that agent knows that their patterns have changed. It's time to begin communicating with them a little differently, right?
Yeah, that, and also even really helping the individual sales associate manage their business. So if they want to make, whatever that number is, if they want to make $60,000 in 2019, what's the behavior they have to do? So it's not just managing customers and taking action based on customers, but also the sales associate and what they're doing. So it's both sides of that equation.
So we heard a little bit about support and training. Can you tell us a little bit about how you guys have trained? You know, how many lines of code do you guys have? Do you have any idea?
Millions. The platform's massive. There's millions of lines of code. And part of the problem too is all the functionality we have. A lot of times our tech support team will hear a request from somebody and really that person thinks, hey, we don't have this functionality, but really we can accomplish what they're looking to accomplish, maybe not through the method they were thinking, but we have all this functionality, which makes training, it can make training hard, to do that. But I will say this, I think that's really the key component right now. And as much training as we're doing currently, so we do live weekly training, we call them Tech Tuesdays, and we really do believe in that ongoing live training, not just the structured training, but here's what's new, here's the nuances of it, here's what you can do with it. But where that's going to really evolve is more of the life cycle as well with the sales associate, because a lot of times, even though you'll tell a sales associate, here's this nice, neat feature that you have, sometimes they don't connect the dots that you think they would. So you have to connect those dots for them and say, well, here's why this feature exists, whatever it is. And I'll just give you one example. So let's just say new listing notifications. The sales associates can do that through their MLS and other platforms, but when they start to understand that, well, our corporate platform that we're using, we do real-time new listing notifications because we sync up with the MLS every 5 minutes. So they go out in real time. But on top of that is, we're powering our reverse prospecting with our own data. So it makes that data stronger. And we now have the buyers in the marketplace in our database that we manage and we control. So even as they understand that and how they can utilize that, then there's more buy-in and more adoption. So that's where I think you're going to see things change. And what's happening too, when you kind of talk about an all-in-one provider, just by simply removing different platforms you have to train to and having those platforms automatically communicate, it removes some of that barrier of training that you have to teach, especially when they only have one CRM database. I know that seems basic, but Ken had mentioned contact sync with Google. Now that's so important, just that whatever happens online is automatically on their phone and vice versa. Again, it's things we take for granted, but it's amazing how many companies don't have that functionality within their company.
Well, and can I jump in here for a second?
Absolutely.
Because one thing that, and we talk about things we take for granted, we have a help desk here, so our agents can call in here, but also on our intranet site, there's a help desk that goes directly to Delta, and it's taken a burden off of our people here because they know they can get to their call center and deal with people as well. So that way, my guys here that I'm paying can do other things because I've got this partner here that's going to help answer those go-to type questions. And maybe I'm not supposed to talk about this yet, but one of the things we're in design, you talk about his Tech Tuesdays that we're designing, that Delta has. We're creating a HPW tube, like a YouTube channel, that if you can't attend the Tech Tuesdays or attend any of our training things, we're creating a YouTube channel within HPW that will have all that content. And we know that our tech specialists love to do that stuff too and share. I mean, how many people love to post things on YouTube? That we'll end up having our own training and support within a YouTube channel, so our agents will be able to view that 24/7, and we won't have to wait for a particular day or time.
I can't tell you how much of a huge differentiator that is. I mean, if you look at, if you know, we tend to look at brokerage firms and divide them into large, medium, and small. And you know, small brokerage firms have zero staff, zero training. They help each other, or they try to find help as help can be found. Mid-sized firms typically have some, but not a whole lot. And where they become really deficient is, you know, the ability to train on the schedule of the agent. So they may have an office meeting with some training once a week, and that's it. But large firms have this, you know, they have dedicated training people that are assigned to offices. They have agents within each office who are trained. They have backup with their technology vendor, and then they have 24-hour training on a learn as you go program through video training. And it really is impressive. And I think, you know, Steve Murray, who's a very highly revered consultant in our industry who looks at the performance of brokerages, has recognized that over the last 24 months, the largest brokers in the country have gotten larger and their dollar volumes have increased tremendously, mostly just because they're executing more effectively. And Ken, I think what you just pointed to right there is a cheap example of that.
Yeah, and hey, Victor, I want to add something else too, and I know this is coming obviously from a technical person's perspective, but we also made a change that we take for granted in here about 4 years ago. We shut down our customer service department and we replaced it with our tech support department. And that's not a play on words, it's not a title. Customer service is where you have people that are really friendly, really good with people on the phone, have some technical experience, but they probably can't build you a web page, or they probably can't answer DNS questions or technical questions. And it was our belief that our customers, you know, at all tiers, all the way down to the sales associate, even their assistants, our customers, they didn't necessarily want to feel good. What made them feel good was that their problem was solved or their need was met. And you know, so that's why we made that shift. And that's what we found is really, at the end of the day, what people want from tech support or customer service, whatever it's titled, they just want taken care of. They just want that simple question answered or that simple need met, and they want to move on with their day. You know, so we also took that approach, and we're continuing to take that approach to make things simpler, more intuitive. But I think that's really important, because I think that's where a lot of tech companies will fail, is they fail to staff quote unquote customer service with technical people. And part of that's because of the cost, but there's a huge ROI when you have the right people there that can answer the questions and do it timely.
Well, excellent job. And we're gonna finish up on this slide, and I just do want to invite the audience to put any questions they have in the questions dialog box. I'd just like Mike to just kind of go over, like, for brokerages who are watching this and they're considering a new technology vendor. I mean, we've heard the ability of your company to scale to the complexity of a large firm like Coldwell Banker, Howard Perry, and Walston, but can you talk about the ability of your software not only to scale to that size, but also to get small?
Yeah, so we serve customers of all sizes. Obviously, different size firms have different needs. But I will say this though too, even the medium size or the smaller to medium sized firms are doing more and more integrations. But really why you're seeing that is because, you know, at least from our perspective, we don't charge for those integrations. You know, so if we have a firm that comes to us and says, we're working with these 24 partners, we need all these data feeds, you know, for us, the majority of them are already done. So they're probably we just need an API token and they're turned on. So we can serve all size companies, but what you are seeing right now is you're seeing the technology integration being pushed down as far as the size of the firms go. I will say this, I do see larger firms like HPW, they're able to adopt the technology and train the technology a little bit better, you know, and get more engagement locally with their sales associates. But that's why we're pushing heavier into the training as well, but also to be more supportive of the large firms. But we service all size companies, all the way from 2 sales associates up to, you know, 3,000 to 4,000 sales associates.
Oh, that's really cool. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording here, and we're going to go into our Q&A session. Just take a second. There we go. Okay, recording is ended. All right, so I just want to advise everyone again, by all means, use the questions dialog box that's in the GoToWebinar control panel and put in your questions. I see we have a few questions that that have come in here. Oh, so one of the questions, I guess this is, I don't know if this is for Mike or for Kent, but you're managing leads that both come through the Zap platform, which is the platform that the Realogy Franchise Group has deployed across all of their brands and all of their franchises. Can you tell us a little bit about how you do that integration and how you funnel leads from multiple locations and multiple applications into one? And how you keep, I know with Zap, which is, it has Lead Router integrated, you have to keep your updates with the clients current, otherwise you stop getting leads. Can you guys kind of talk about how you do that integration and how you manage living with Zap and Delta Media?
It's Kent, and I can't tell you how it's done. I can just tell you that Delta has been able to push it towards into the CRM and into our intranet site, so agents receive the leads just like they would any from multiple sources and get notified by text messages and emails when they do have a lead. As far as how the integration works, I leave that up to Mike and his group.
Yeah, and this is Mike. I guess the way we're able to do it, that's part of our secret sauce of how we're able to accomplish it. But I will say this, I think that is one of the key fundamental aspects of helping companies run successfully, is being able to marry up that data. And to me, it's not about the quote unquote ownership of data, or I want you on my platform. It's, how can we make life better and easier for sales associates? How could they be more productive and more efficient? And that's why we went into that space. That's why we decided to go that direction and do that type of integration. It was to make it more efficient.
Awesome. The next question is, if I want to keep my existing broker website but deploy your back office intranet and other single sign-on and other integration tools, can you support us?
So we do. I will say this though, with our CMS, or our content management system that we have, we can implement any design on it. So what we push firms to do is we'll implement their design in our CMS. And there's one massive reason that we do that, and that is the SEO side of things. So because I know WordPress is pretty popular. To us, WordPress is kind of old school at this point. And our content management system that we have performs so much better, especially compared to WordPress, that it is, if you're running a WordPress website against like Kent and his firm in his local place, you're at a SEO disadvantage because of platform alone. So yes, we can do any design, and HPW I think is a good example, because Kent and his team came with specific and very unique design requests. So in essence, they designed their site pretty much.
There are three questions which are all kind of looped together, and I'll tell you what the questions are, and then I'll answer it because I already have the answer. But it's one is do you do single agent websites on behalf of the brokerage? The other is, can you create websites for specific communities? Can you have agent websites that only have custom price ranges that they pull, or that maybe a luxury site or things like that? So, I mean, the answer is that with Delta Media and almost every enterprise level brokerage application today, you can absolutely do all of those things. So a lot of people have the capability of, an agent website or a luxury website or a community website. All of those are just sites. I know that, Delta, you guys have done a lot with your content management platform. And probably the thing that's most impressive about what you guys have done is you've been able to pull content off of other, a company's prior website and move that forward and do all the 401 redirects to make sure that none of the SEO gets lost between those pages. So obviously you can build the pages, but can you talk about how you can pull pages over and preserve the quality of those pages and enhance it?
Yeah, so I think that goes back to our automation philosophy. So we also automated tools for ourselves. So, and let me kind of speak to that, because we see a lot of firms, or quite a few firms, where they go through a new website launch process. And I think one of the reasons they dread it so much is because of past experience and how dreadful it was, how much work, how bad it went, the time it took, all these things. So we've heavily automated that process all the way to the point where when we launch new firms, we have all kinds of crawlers built to pull in data into our own platform. So we literally, I think, Ken, how many days did we take to launch you guys?
We signed our contracts approximately May the 7th, and we had a site live that we could train to by the first part of August, and then we launched live time to the public about September 14th or so. So we were up and running in less than 90 days, as far as being able to start training to it and launch.
Yeah, and that's and to give you the scope of that, Victor, it's when we say it's not just the website, but it's pulling in all the CRM data. I mean, it's everything. It's pulling in all of that data, and even and I don't want to get technical, but even the 401 or the page redirects, the 301 redirects, those things are so important. It's the importance is in all the little things that have to get done. And anyone that's been through a website change, they know that's what eats up the time, which is why we wrote programs, applications to do it for us, so that we could script a lot of it, so that we could focus more on the client. But absolutely, we pull all that content over. We do, and also CRM content or customer content over. So I think that's the big thing.
Well, you pulled all the agent bios from the other sites too. So I mean, we launched 900 sites, with all of our agents on, one day, and any content that was on the other sites that the agents had, we pulled over so the agent was up and running immediately. And for those that you're asking about the question of how many sites, I mean, we just launched a new HPW luxury site as well, and working now on subdivision sites for our builders as well. And one thing you didn't have on that list was team sites. We have sites specifically for teams that have their own agent directory on there for their team agents as well too. So.
They're digging that. I mean, I'll tell you, that's a tremendous accomplishment, Kent, because we have seen very, very, very few examples of brokerages who've been able to launch websites that have compelled their teams to switch over and use the broker supplied solution. Teams kind of operate philosophically as a brokerage within a brokerage, and they tend to kind of, grow their own and eat their own. And you deserve a lot of credit for being able to give them something so compelling that they stopped going out and buying their own stuff.
It's a partnership. So I credit Mike. We have the ideas. They're the ones that help implement it. So it works well together that we've got the street, what we need to know on the street, and then those guys actually execute.
Yeah. The next question I wanted to ask is, Mike, somebody wants to know who you integrate with or how many integrations you have, and what is single sign-on?
So a bunch of good questions. So we do a ton of single sign-on. So what single sign-on is, in plain English, it's basically where you have an intranet with an icon to another platform where the agent can click it and they're automatically logged into that other platform. That's the most basic way I could explain the single sign-on. It gets a lot more technical than that. But single sign-on is really important. But as far as the number of integrations, I don't even know. I should know the exact number. But again, the way that we do our integrations, here's why I lose track of how many integrations. It's as we do these integrations, they're built into our platform. so as even as we upgrade those integrations, it's upgraded across the board for all of our customers, that integration is. And in many cases, when we have quite a few shared clients, I know we've done this with one of the app providers in the industry where we were integrated with them, but my view and the owner of that company's view was, hey, we should have a really deep integration where our systems talk in real time to one another, and that's about ready to launch finally. We've been working on that for nearly a year. But it's, so when it comes to integrations, it's everything. So now that's not to say when we sign up new clients, I think right now we probably have about 14 different integrations that are new to us that we're doing right now. But again, they're being put into the platform and being implemented platform-wide, across our system, so that then they're widely available to everybody. But on top of that too, we have APIs, but I got to be honest with you, and I'm sure people on this call have experienced this, you would think it should be easy to just get systems to talk to one another, but as you know, it's not for whatever reason. So that's why we've kind of just taken the approach of we'll go ahead and do the integration with a third party, because 9 times out of 10 that third party can't do, even if they're provided an API, they can't do the integration, or it's going to take them 9 months to do it. And it's like, well, we can have an intern do that. So we kind of take a different approach to it, and we think they should be free, so we do them for free.
Awesome. Well, we have 3 minutes. We have time for one last question. Can you talk a little bit about your mobile strategy and the stuff that Google has changed recently, which has impacted the performance of broker websites?
Yeah, absolutely. So Google's finally doing the change that we've been anticipating for about 3 years, and that's where they're implementing their mobile first index. And basically what that says is, they're going to be looking at mobile as the priority, the mobile experience on your website. So we've had a mobile first approach for quite a while. And here's what that means. What that means is we're designing the experience to happen on a mobile device, and that's where we first look. Because if you look at all the web traffic that's happening on real estate websites, at least as we see it right now, when you look at smartphones and tablets, it represents about 72% of the traffic right now. And to be quite frank, that number would be a lot higher right now if it weren't for people at the office. So when people are at work, we track it. They're on their desktop computer at the office, and they're on a real estate website looking for homes. So we have a mobile first approach, but what that also means is that you have to pay attention to how Google looks at your mobile devices. And we've been doing it for years, so we've been prepped for it for a long time and ready for the switch. But it's really important that experience is good for the end user. And there are a lot of tools that firms can use. And I don't know if we're planning on sending out any audits to anybody that's on this call. I'll have to check with Melissa and see if we are. But there are tools out there that can tell you how your website looks right now to Google on a mobile device. And those are very important tools, very important tools.
Awesome. Well, with that, we're at the top of the hour. I want to extend my sincere gratitude to both of you for jumping on the call with us today. Kent, incredible job. Well done. It's really impressive what you guys have done. And obviously you couldn't have done it without Mike and his team supporting you. So with that, thank you all very much. I hope everyone has a productive day.